Well, good morning, everyone, or afternoon or evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. And so glad to be here with you again on our bi monthly expansion calls. So I trust all the fun stuff that we've been sharing and learning the last few weeks you've been able to enjoy and incorporate in some aspect of your life. So let's go ahead and get started. We might have some more people joining us as we go along. So, again, welcome and thank you for being here today. So, just an overview, we're going to always set our intention. We're going to assess where we are, put it in a certain context, how to apply it in our life, reflect the change, and then seal it in with an affirmation. So, again, let's approach today with some curiosity. What would we like to expand in our life? And I put this new tagline in here, the growing edge. Like, where would we like to begin to have some different outcomes, results, manifestations in our life? So, that's our intention. It's like our curiosity and our intention drives that first coming into the present moment and really priming our conscious and unconscious mind to pay attention to what we're going to share today. So, with that curiosity and intention, let's go ahead and do a check in. Be curious on in this moment, where am I? So, your life force energy, how is it? Whether you make a note to yourself on a piece of paper or one of your devices, where's my life force energy at this moment? How am I feeling with my mental presence and clarity? Where am I in my emotional body? How is that feeling? That kind of affect my response or reactions to myself, my environment, those around me. And also, how does my physical body feel? Like, how is my physical body doing and showing up in this moment? So take a moment and be curious. And the great thing is everything is malleable, it's changeable, and we can have influence and affect change very quickly. So as you check in, we're going to now put this in a context of we're in the intention, right? The context of really how to grow our healthy brain and how to reset our brain, because our brain is this amazing supercomputer, faster than any computer that exists on the planet, of processing information, orienting ourselves to the present moment to be able to envision and create our future. Yes, I have a kitty on my lap. Remember last time he was scratching at the door. So animals are so smart. They know how to come into the present moment and the good energy. So I wanted to play a little video because this is the good news. Growing healthy brains really works because we actually have brain plasticity until the day we get our angel wings and we transition from planet Earth. So this is a great little video to actually show the process of things that are firing together are actually wiring together. So let's take a moment and be curious about this. You see the activity in the neurite. You see that edge, right? That cutting edge, that growth edge of the neurons. And you can see how that information and data is firing along those neurons. And this is great. Look, this is where new neural networks are being created, right? Just instantly, now our technology can show what we've always known, that what we cultivate, right, what we grow in our life, our intention, our daily activities, our behaviors, our beliefs, actually changes our reality. So let's take a look at what I like to think about is what we do day after day, those neural networks that we're laying down, how we're exercising our physical bodies, our emotional bodies, our mental bodies actually create the structure, right? Or we might even say create the permanent outcome in our life. So, in this expansion model, we're looking at three aspects, right? There's the foundation, the landscape that really supports everything. And then we've got our visions and goals. And then we have the flowers and the crops and the beautiful abundance that comes when we have a healthy soil and we can really actualize our visions and goals. And then we have that other stuff, right? Might be the drama, the trauma, the past history, the old data, or what we might call weeds in the garden. So we've been focusing on really cultivating the soil and foundation to then be able to support our visions and goals, and also for us to be able to resolve, renegotiate, and complete on some past traumas. So I've used this model last time, kind of introduced it as another way to look at it. So we've been working again at this landscape level and wanting to create a sense of safety, calm, that our whole organism, our neurobiology knows that we're cared for and nurtured, right? Because that's the soil from which everything grows. And it actually changes our biochemistry, right? We get that oxytocin, that serotonin surge, which allows our nervous system to experience rest and digest, right? We've done some polyvagal theory concepts in activating our vagus nerve. This allows us then to connect to ourselves and others. Then we have that desire for community, where we actually have a desire for social engagement. And it helps us to manage our stressors more skillfully and for us to fundamentally know that we're safe. And then this supports our healing and access to greater cognition, our intelligence, and even our intuition. So we're going to revisit that. We're going to start to add in how can we activate some dopamine, the fuel that drives us forward with our goals and ambitions and dreams. And then also, this is offsetting, lowering the threat response, right? Because there is a part of us that's always scanning, are we safe? And when we stay in that vigilance or even hypervigilance, it raises the cortisol levels. And cortisol actually, when it stays prolonged amounts of times in the blood and in the system, starts to degrade the function of our brains and really dysregulates our whole system. So we're looking at the interplay between these and starting with the soil. So let's visit for a moment that in our first time together, we talked about the brain has a negativity bias, right? And that negativity bias is for our survival. And usually, when we perceive a threat, when there's an actual threat or an imagined or perceived threat, we naturally go into survival, right? We might decide we're going to stand and fight, we're going to run away. We actually can freeze. And when it's really serious, we do what's called dorsal vagal and we just pass out, right? We faint. That's that kind of that playing dead. And the thing to know about that, when we go into survival mode, you can see here, right, this prefrontal cortex. I love my little brains. This is that executive function, the logical part that can think things through and really have a solution goes offline. It goes into this limbic brain, which is the emotional center, and it takes over. And we actually are reactionary and we're coming from past traumas, right? Past hurts, and we can't think things through. So when we're trying to talk ourselves off a ledge of anger, rage, upset, disappointment, hurt, or we're trying to support someone else, we have to realize that logical talk therapy, trying to talk at someone, logically reason them through something, when they're upset, when they're feeling threatened or overwhelmed, they're in this limbic emotional brain. And so, what we've been learning initially is how to regulate these parts of our brain. So let's take a look at another model. This comes from Daniel Siegel's work, that when we flip our lid, those high cortisol levels take over and our executive function goes offline. So he had a hand model where this is our brain stem here at the wrist, automatic functions in our body, the involuntary body actions. Then the limbic brain is sort of this midbrain, or what we call subcortical, where the emotional responses are, that survival. And these two work together, and that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn is where we're kind of trying to make it better for someone so that they won't hurt us. The prefrontal cortex is the fingers coming over, right? That's that thinking, functioning, executive function of the brain. And what happens when we get stressed is that goes offline. Like we literally flip our lid and we start coming from this emotional brain. And this is a model that works really great for kids. And so we can kind of go, wow, I flipped my lid. So we've been learning techniques that calm down this limbic brain so the prefrontal cortex, the executive function, can come online and we can work holistically with a whole brain approach. So I love Dan Siegel's work on whole brain consciousness, particularly with children. So last time we talked about, this negativity bias that our brains have. And so often when things start going well, we start going, hang on, the survival part, the negativity bias goes, there's another shoe that's going to drop. I need to be looking over my shoulder. Hang on, something's not good. It's going too well. And it's almost that perceived threat or the anxiety or anticipation of something going wrong has us kind of flip our lid, right? We lose our clear conscious thinking of analytical awareness, and we kind of go into this emotional state, which might be in this comic, which I think is really cute. We kind of self-destruct, right? We have a meltdown and we start acting in ways that aren't our true and highest self. So we're going to look at ways that we can do some neuroregulation that helps support that initial intention of expansion. So last time I was wanting to shift us out of a negativity bias, that we can actually create a mind map of beautiful past experiences, right, that move us forward in a whole brain integrated approach. So I invited everyone to take a moment and reflect on a past experience that was positive, right, to sort of balance out the negativity bias. And so in this example, I was remembering a beautiful beach walk that I had, and I also said to myself, how did that feel? Right. Because I saw the image of it, right? I could hear the waves, I felt the breeze, but also how did it feel? Right. It felt expansive. And so it's important to just letting somebody in there. It's important to both tune into the experience, but also how it made us feel. So I had us go through several past experiences, how it made us feel, and really start to create that neural network and anchoring in through some of the psychosensory techniques we've been learning. So that's just kind of a review, and you can continue to work with this process. So let's revisit some of those psychosensory techniques. So we did vagus nerve activation, right? Stroking down the throat, right? Rubbing behind the ears, massaging the ears, being able to pull on them, that activity there in the ear canal stimulation, floating up over the first ridge into the simba. We also realize that humming and singing creates both a vibration that activates the vagus nerve, and it also activates a longer exhale. And a longer exhale when we sing or hum or whistle also activates the vagus nerve. We also talked about taking some of the tension off of the optic nerve and the power of how that goes through the limbic brain. And then, of course, in the morning, splashing cold water on our face or anytime during the day and gargle. So, revisiting this is actually changing the function of the brain. We're sort of neurobiologically hacking it and increasing oxytocin. That's the community sensation of wanting to be together with others. It feels good to be together with others, bonding, more social engagement. And serotonin is more that, I got it. It feels good. I'm happy. So these are things that can help when we flip our lid to calm this limbic brain and bring us back into whole brain. So we did that the last couple of times. So revisiting that. Last time I introduced the psychosensory touch of havening. And this is where we can use touch, gently rubbing our palms together, stroking across our forehead and across our face, and down our arms. Now, some people have other places that feel good. They might rub down their thighs, right? They might actually feel it's more of this stroking down through the throat. But these slow movements of soothing touch actually tell the limbic brain, the amygdala, that it's safe. And the reason it tells it that is because it's activating more delta waves. And delta waves are the waves that we have when we sleep. And so our brain goes, it's okay in this moment. It also then, through that calming process, gives us more focus and awareness in the present moment. The touch brings us into the present moment. We're feeling that sensation of touch. We're like we're calming the ruffled feathers, right? We're calming the nervous system, calming the amygdala, really bringing us into a place of calm, present awareness, right? So we introduced this last time as a way, again, of being able to calm that flipping the lid and accentuating the positive memories and those feelings. Because when we do this touch, when we do activating the vagus nerve about those positive experiences, we're growing that neural network, right, that we talked about and saw in that video, right, how it continues to grow. So now I'm wanting to introduce you to some other amazing research on how to activate dopamine, particularly in the prefrontal lobes. And who knew it was this simple? Actually, the reflex, the neural reflex of yawning, activates this prefrontal lobe, right? This is the executive function. It gives it a squirt of dopamine. And dopamine is what moves us to action. Dopamine is what like gets us motivated to get out of bed. And so most people thought yawning was a relaxation response. And it does have a relaxation response component, but it actually activates more interbrain connection and gives support to the frontal cortex, the prefrontal cortex. So it activates dopamine, wakes up the brain, increases our focus. And who knew yawning actually activates over half of the pain reduction centers in the brain. So we're going to take a look at the power of yawning with mindful stretching and adding in the soothing touch. Don't you love it that it's this simple and it's like with us all the time? These are like superpowers. Who knew, right? So, yawning creates neurological regulation, reduces stress, for sure relaxes the upper body, improves cognitive function, increases memory recall. Oh my gosh. So when we like are trying to take a test and we yawn a few times, oh my God, it activates us and connects us to that part of our brain. It fine tunes our sense of time, right? We're more aware of present moment. What time is it? Who am I? Where am I? Where do I need to be? It actually stimulates alertness and concentration, optimize, optimizes overall brain function, right? That whole brain function and the metabolism of neurotransmitters and our whole biochemistry. It enhances consciousness, like expanded awareness, and even introspection, right? Being able to really tune into ourselves and then also be present with others. Who knew, right? It increased empathy, the ability to truly be present and compassionate with others, that social engagement, right? That the vagus nerve activation gives us, and enhances our feelings of pleasure, right? So that's that serotonin starting to come in and gives us greater awareness of sensory. Like we'll go, wow, things look brighter. Oh, I hear the birds singing. Oh, I actually feel my body more. So let's actually apply this in real time, right? So remember last time I talked about mirror neurons. So there's an interesting thing, mirror neurons, when we see someone else do something, our brain starts to do the same action. And have you noticed when someone else yawns, your mirror neurons start to tell you to yawn? And that's why I put these images here. But actually, in the mammal, in mammalian consciousness and herd mentality, when one member of the herd yawns, it tells everyone else in the herd that it's safe and okay. So we have these mirror neurons to alert us to threat and danger, but also to let us know that all is well and we can relax. So I'm going to invite you right now to yawn. And nice mindful stretching, and then adding in some soothing touch. And at first, it might feel almost like a forced yawn, sort of like fake it till you make it. But I'm going to invite you to do it again. Oh, and some soothing touch. And again. Ah. And some soothing touch. And take a moment for some introspection like, wow, how do things look different now? how do they sound different, right? How do they feel different? And if you'd like to, add a few more because you felt like, oh, I'm just getting warmed up. Go ahead and do that. You know what? I never knew this, but in fact, people in the military, particularly snipers, where they have to be really calm and center and focus their aim, are taught to yawn before they fire. Athletes, performers, this is part of like sort of the secrets of high performance, of how to activate these neurological responses in the brain. So we can begin to bring this into our superpowers. It's already in us, bring it into conscious awareness and use it effectively. So, one way to do it is to set a mindfulness bell on your phone or some kind of prompt that goes off throughout the day to begin to bring this into conscious awareness and application. And you can have it go off 30 minutes, 60 minutes. I would say at least every 90 minutes, because there's actually something in our biological rhythms that about every 90 minutes, our brain is in a neurological reset. There's sort of a ascension, activation, and a down. There's like a flow state, right? So we come into activation, we reach a peak, and there's a flow state. So the yawning helps to reset this. So this is so great to teach to kids because it helps bring in sharper focus, brings in attention, awareness, helps neural regulation both in their brain, right, and in their whole body. So I'm going to invite you to play with that and explore that. And of course, in these pictures, we see that animals utilize this intelligence all the time. Now I want to introduce another concept, which I touched on the very first time a little bit, that where we look actually affects how we feel, right? So there's a body of work called brain spotting, and I'm a brain spotting practitioner and facilitator. And I want to introduce this concept, and we're going to find today a place within our neural network that gives a sense of safety, calm, grounding, and ease, right? Because we're wanting to rebalance this, flipping the lid into a whole brain. And this subcortical, midbrain, limbic brain is what's needing support to come into a whole brain consciousness. And it's super easy. So, anytime we want to go somewhere, right, we need a map. So, here's a map of California, and we go, wow, there's the whole state, but I want to zero in. I want to get in here to Southern California, right? So, we need coordinates to find our way. And the fun part is we can actually zoom in that there are coordinates within the brain. So we could say there's sort of a matrix or a map, and we're going to zero into the coordinates of where this spot is in our brain, and it's unique to each one of us, that gives us that safety, calm, grounding, and ease. So, Antonio Damasio is an amazing researcher and scientist about encoding in the neural network that in our brain is a matrix. And so sometimes our bodies are responding to the external environment, but sometimes the changes that we need to make or that are being activated are from this brain map. And I want to show that we don't need a bunch of electrodes and external equipment to be able to access our brain map and utilize it in the highest and best way. So here's another way to look at it, right? I sort of said there's a matrix, right? There's GPS points. And so we can think about those GPS points being within the brain. And we're going to find a way to locate these and utilize them in the highest and best way. So we can do this exercise with our eyes open or closed. And I'm going to take one more step, right? So whether you feel like the brain spot is in your actual internal landscape, you're going in with your eyes open and closed into the internal landscape, or it feels like it's more of an external matrix, sort of in the field, I'm going to teach you how to find that brain spot, right, for safety, calm, grounding, and ease. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to give like a little prompt, but I'm going to invite you to look straight ahead in your visual field, right? So, whether or not your eyes are open or closed, you know what that feels like and looks like to look straight ahead in your visual field. So, when you look straight ahead in your visual field at horizontal, If we're using 0 to 10 as our scale, and 10 is high, 10 is I feel really safe, I feel really calm, grounded, and at ease. When you look straight ahead, what number do you get? When you look straight ahead. If I look straight ahead, I get about a 3. Okay, so notice what that is. If I float my awareness over here to the side, I can gently turn my head. I can also just let my eyes float over, right? So if I float over here to the left and I tune in whether my eyes are open or closed, does my 3 stay the same? Does it go higher or lower? So when I float over here to the left, my 3 just became a 10. I'm like, that's interesting. Interesting GPS point. If I float over here to the right, I can gently turn my head or just have it be my eyes. And I tune in on that safety calm. My 3 just went down to a 2. So something in my neural network, in my GPS, is telling me over here, it activates more sense of safety, grounding, and calm. So we've just explored the horizontal plane. So now that I'm over here for me, and notice where it is for you, that I decide, oh, let me see if I let my eyes be over here to the left and float up. Does that 10 go higher? Oh, that's interesting. That 10 goes up to an 11. Oh, even is going up to a 12. If I bring it down here, my 10 goes down to about an 8. So now we're exploring the vertical axis. So for me, when I look over here and a little bit up, I'm aware of a shift in my nervous system, right? And I can even explore the visual field being out further. That's kind of called the depth of field or in closer. But when I look over here, a little bit up and out into the distance, I literally feel a shift in my nervous system. I am tapping into the GPS point in my neural network that creates that feeling of safety, ground, calm, and ease. So take a moment and really notice and let your awareness, like you're daydreaming, like your gaze to rest there and savor that feeling. You have tuned into your GPS, right? Of the neurobiochemical matrix within your consciousness, within your body, within your neural network that is safety, calm, grounding, and ease, right? And what we're doing is we're firing and wiring this neural network. We're feeding that landscape, right? We're really attending to that soil so it's growing the flowers, right, of safety, calm, grounded, and ease. And it helps to balance out the drama. Trauma helps rebalance the brain. So we flipped our lid. I can glance out over here, fire in my neural network, recalibrate, bring in some soothing touch, and feel myself actually begin to re-regulate, right? Self-regulate my nervous system, what affects every part of my being. So with those two new applications, right? We did vagus nerve, psychosensory touch, yawning and stretching, and I can look over to that spot and feel that dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. I'm calm and relaxed and ready for my day. I'm curious where you are now. So check in your life force energy, right? How your mental faculties are showing up, where your emotional body is, right? And your physical body. So, how does your life, right, feel, look, and sound now, right? And what would happen if we applied these steps in the next 2 weeks of our life? What could expand? What could grow? What could be resolved? What could come in to a greater sense of healing and well being and creative self expression? So, again, I always love to share this quote from a mentor of mine. I choose to choose the me I'll be. I sculpt my own neurology. I bring the best of me to all I do and all I see. I choose to choose the me I'll be. So, what if we activate our ability to heal? And what if we grow our capacity for good in every day? We've got that mindfulness bell, it's bringing it into conscious awareness. And we're really utilizing our superpowers and creating the best of us. So, again, I'm always happy to be present and supportive in all the modalities that I love to share. And our next call is June 8th, and I'll look forward to seeing you all then. And so we're complete with our time of information gathering and knowing that all of this information is in you. It's a reminder of what we intrinsically know, and we're bringing it forward into our consciousness. And in that, we have the tools, we have the ability, we have the affirmation and confirmation that who we are and what we're capable of is really amazing, divine, and a gift to ourselves and our world. So, namaste until our next time together. Thank you so much. See you soon.